It's time for Pure Performance.
Get your stopwatches ready. It's time for Pure Performance with Andy Grabner and Brian Wilson.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Pure Performance. As you can probably tell, this is not the awesome radio voice from Brian Wilson. It's just the voice of Andy. Unfortunately, Brian had to cancel today. He's not feeling well, so we wish him all the best. But by the time this airs, hopefully he will be recovered and we will have already recorded yet another great session. But I typically we start with a joke, but I want to spare the time and rather actually go straight into the topic and actually introduce my guest today. I met Artem at Cloudland just a couple of weeks ago in the beautiful area north in Germany, in the northern parts of Germany, in Soltau at the Cloudland conference, and then again just 2 days ago in Munich at the Cloud Native Summit. Artem and I were both sharing the passion for platform engineering, but there's a lot of other things we figured out that we are passionate about and that we share. And this is actually today's discussion around platform engineering. We talk about the latest things that he has seen. There will also be some discussion around Terraform is dead, yes or no. So I think this is something we want to discuss as well. But without further ado, Artem, thank you so much for being on the show today. And maybe let's kick it off with a little bit of an introduction.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me here, Andy. I'm keeping the introduction short. My name is Artem Lajko. I'm working as platform engineering, of course, because now you're not doing DevOps anymore. You're doing platform engineering, or you label yourself. I'm working for IDPs Consulting. It's a startup from Germany, founded 2019. We have about 160 employees, so we are not a real startup anymore, but we try to keep the culture. Then I am certified Kubestronaut, try to keep me educated, not to lose the tracks on the market. And I'm ambassador for platformengineering.org, try to understand the pain of different customers, not on the business side, also on the worldwide side. Because as platform engineering ambassador, you have also insights to companies from the USA, not just Europe. And I'm a co-published author of the book Implementing GitOps with Kubernetes, because GitOps is the glue for platform engineering, and put some insights over the years into a book with a friend of mine.
It's really amazing. Writing a book, we were both holding our book in the air when we took the screenshot for our thumbnail here. Writing a book is not as easy as it initially sounds, right? What was your experience?
My experience was short nights, a lot of stress, but after it was published, it was like, I like it, it was worth it. But I don't know, he was writing about, I think, 3 or 4 months full time. So yeah, it was tough time. How it was the experience for you? I mean, we written with just me and Pietro, and I think at your books you are 3 authors. Huh?
We're 3 authors, yeah. Max Kirbecher, who you know, right, from Munich.
Yeah.
And then also Hilary Lipsick. Yeah, we kicked it off, the idea, in March of last year. We started writing, I think, in June, or actually end of May, June, and our deadline was mid of August. So it was also 2.5, 3 months intensive work. We think we did a good initial prep work and division of how we are separating the chapters and the topics. But overall, there was a lot of coordination work, because you want to make sure that when somebody reads the book, that it still makes sense end to end, that we're not contradicting, that we're not repeating things, that we're not missing things out, right? That was a good experience.
Because of that, I'm asking. So you need to sync it, because you have 3 authors, 2 different writing styles. So it's a little bit difficult to sync it, and also to have all the stuff like it sounds like written by one person. Because we have struggled at some points with some chapters with Pietro, and it's not sounds like, so you don't have a flow, and then we need to refactor it. It's for stuff, and I mean with 3 authors, it's gonna be another challenge. But yeah, really, really nice. You're writing seamlessly, I think, and then you sync everything as 3 authors.
Exactly. Yeah, we also did constant reviews, so we had a shared Google Drive where we kept our work, and then trying to stay on top of what the others are writing, and then also with this getting some inspiration.
Yeah, I was hoping to grab a copy, a signed one in Munich, but yeah, not enough books.
There will be maybe another chance at another event coming up.
Yeah, keep me
Hey,
in the loop.
yeah,
I will
but
looking for it.
let's talk about stuff that you are doing. And I was really fascinated when I saw you present with one of your colleagues, I think in Cloudland, right?
Mm-hmm. With Alex Heft,
With
one
Alex.
engineer.
Yeah. And you were presenting on the topic of platform engineering. I think you had one of the opening talks at the conference. I then followed a little bit later with my thoughts on platform engineering with a little bit of a live demo as well. And there's a couple of things I want to pick out from your presentation because I think overall, when you are following what's happening in platform engineering right now after several years, I think there's a clear understanding or some certain things that are repeated all over again. So platform as a product is a very important piece. Keeping the end user in mind when you're building a platform, self-service. What I thought was interesting for you, one of the slides, and I'm scrolling down because I want to get the stats right. You talked about how platform engineering and DevOps also has a huge impact on the salary range. Right? And you were comparing the two roles, but you were also comparing US and Europe. Can you fill in the audience and talk a little bit about what you have observed there?
I can try it. The numbers coming out from me, I'm using it for platformengineering.org because they analyze the market on the USA and Europe. And the numbers is showing if you're doing, for example, DevOps, if I remember it right, you're earning in Europe something about 80, 90K US dollar. And in the USA, it's going to be about 150K. Of course, depends where you're located. And platform engineering was something about, if I remember it right, about 100K. And US 200, 220K compared to it. And from my point of view, and also I have some exchange with Cube Careers and also asking if you're hiring a platform engineer that not just building managed infrastructure, like for example, you're building you compose with Terraform, with Helm charts, depends on your infrastructure and also on your cloud provider, what is available or not. So you need to have these skills. And also you need, in my opinion, to have some software engineering skills to put it in a product, not like treat it as a product, but you need to create it something. You need to know how to create features and all the stuff. And the most engineers coming from a system engineer background, cloud engineering background, don't have it. So I can't just try to explain the numbers. So you need to have the skills of a system cloud ops engineer, combine it to a software engineer to build a portal, a platform, however you call it, with a self-service approach. And you are not building anymore for yourself as an end user. You are building it for end users. And it's a difficult mind shift also for me. I have a software developer background. And if I'm building platforms, it's easy to build it for you. Like you have your castle, some play rules, and enable the developer to play on your castle. But if you are building and provide it for them and they can use it, it's costs you a lot of time. And I think because of that, if you're doing real platform engineering, the numbers will be, if you hire people, it's going to be about right. And we have to compare it. Last year, we have about 4,000 applications at IITS, and we just hired 25 people from that. And I don't found the profiles I will need to build a platform engineering as a product, how it's described in the books. And so I think, the numbers gonna be maybe right, maybe not. 100K now for Europe for a platform engineer with this kind of experience, I think. This is just my opinion or my scope view on it. I don't know. How do you see it? I mean, you have also building platform at Dynatrace or try to integrate everything. And I mean, do you have a similar requirements for hiring for the people and also
I think you're spot on. I think what the observation is right. We have a lot of very skilled people that know how to build automation to solve their individual day-to-day tasks. The challenge is how can you build something that can be used as a self-service by many people with different skills in your organization. And I think this is the big challenge, and where I believe this is why you're spot on. If you are in a platform engineering team, I'm not sure if you need every individual member of the platform engineering team to have this broad capabilities of being on the one side, kind of like a marketeer, a product manager, an architect. But I think within the platform engineering team, you need to treat it as a software product that needs to be successful. That means you need to figure out a way to build something that helps not only one, but many in your organization. And also you need to build it in a way that they want to use it, because if you build something that is hard to use, doesn't solve the problem, then the result will be that they will go off and build something themselves, or they find some other solutions, download something, use an external service. And then you end up with the actual problem that I think platform engineering wants to solve, is reducing the complexity and providing a standardized way of doing things instead of having 5 different tools that essentially try to solve the same thing.
Totally agree. And also, I think you have to need a product mindset, because for me, I don't have a product mindset. I was never working as a product owner, something like this. And now you are building something. It's gonna be a product, not like a lot of people are gonna rephrase it, going to the talks, reading the right book and say, you need to treat it as a product. And say, can you explain me in simple words for an engineer what I need? Yeah, just the feature and all the stuff. I said, in my opinion, I think you need a product owner for your platform, because the most engineers I'm working with don't know how to build a product, not just because lacking of skills in software engineering. You have another mindset. I think you need also treat it like another product you build for a customer to solve their pain, or if you're providing a SaaS solution or something like this. So also, I don't find many companies. I found, I think, just 2. They have hiring also product owner with engineering background, know all the Terraform infrastructure as code parts, the Kubernetes part, and know how to build a product. And I think this is also a missing piece. If you try to build something like with a self-service for different stakeholder, you need a product owner. I guess. I don't have one at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. Now, there was one, I was just trying to look it up. There was one presentation, I think it was in the morning of day 2 at Cloud Native Summit on platform engineering. Don't remember his name, but I'll try to find it and then put the link into the description of our podcast. He also talked about platform engineering, some lessons learned. And one of the things he had a bell curve, and he basically had a really interesting message where he said, you need to solve the problems for the 80% of your engineers that are currently struggling. And he had the bell curve with the 80% in the middle, but he said the most common problem is that you don't talk with these 80%, because these 80% are often the quiet ones. You typically listen to people that are very vocal. They are very invested, and it's typically the ones on the outside, left and right. And it's those that have very specific, very niche problems. And so I think he had a really nice slide that talks about, don't listen to the loud noises. Try to understand what the 80% need and solve the problems for the 80% and not for the 20 others that have very specific use cases and have a completely different mindset anyway. So I thought that was also really interesting.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. I also need to take a look on it. It sounds like, you need to try to reduce the cognitive workload of the 80% that have the pain, to understand the pain, and then maybe you're getting some adaptation. And because you heard also a lot of presentation like, nobody use our platforms. We build a platform and nobody use it. Yeah, of course. Like you say, or like the colleague was presenting the talk. I also not attending to the talk, but I will making my homework and looking after our podcast into the talk, because I want to learn. And I think also AB Bengsa from Syntasso, they're also doing a great work understanding the product mindset and also the pain of the market. They're also giving a talk. I just saw it on YouTube, but I don't take a look on it. And they explain what product mindset means and how you put a product owner into your platform. It's also on my to-do list between all the 300 hours other links.
Yeah, which also reminds me, I need to add, we had Abby Bangser on a podcast a couple of months ago. And we also had, the name currently escapes my mind on the last episode, also from Syntasso, the CTO and founder. I think we had him also on the episode here to talk about platform engineering. But yeah, lots of interesting people to listen to. Now, I mentioned in the beginning, platform as a product. We heard a lot about it. So we agree it is really important for success. Now, I want to shift topics just a little bit because there's one thing that you had on your slides that I also thought I would like to get more insights from you on. And you talked about the 5 common pitfalls to avoid when building an IDP, right? Because for me, it's always interesting to talk about what things are not working well. What have we learned? When Brian and I started this podcast years ago, we talked about the top performance problems that people built into the applications, because Brian and I both have a performance engineering background. So we talked about what can go wrong, what did people do wrong. And so I'm also interested in diving a little bit deeper on what are some of the problems that you have seen in your life as a platform engineer and in helping organizations building platforms.
Yeah, of course. I try to share it. It's starting how we learned so much, because I just put, I think if I remember it right, on Cloudlet, I just presented 3, on the slides are 5, and sometimes I also until to 10. And I think 2 years ago, I started a blog because I was overwhelmed. What is IDP? What is the platform engineering stuff? And just drop it. And then I have an exchange about, I think, 100, 200 people at the moment, with some product builder and also some end user, and collecting also from our customer all the common pitfalls. And the easiest one, or the most one, have, I think, 90% in common. It's going to be ignoring the education gap, I call it. What I mean by that is, for example, if I'm joining a customer and we are speaking about just, I don't know, what's mean cloud native? You're asking, or platform engineering, you're asking 5 people, you get 5 different point of views. And that's what I'm also missing. And I say, okay, let's now create a common shared terminology. So, because if you try to build something in your company, however you call it, it doesn't matter. But if you try to build it, you have an education gap on different areas. Your management have more education gaps than your engineers, maybe. Your software developer have also some education gaps. And then we have find out, since the most company, before they started to build something, they having a commitment on wrong terms because of the education point, and then they are building something, and after they see a proof of concept or MVP, they say, we don't wanted it. And the other side, we also don't want it to build it. And you say, yeah, first start with the education gap. I mean, you don't need to be an expert on IDPs, internal web platforms, portals, or another stuff. Just try to creating for you company a common understanding, but not to reinvent the wheel, and also create a lot of acronyms, because in Germany we love to create acronyms nobody can understand, but we have a lot of them. And everybody knows what it means. I mean, using the terms from the market, but creating a common understanding what it means. For example, if you're using cloud native, because I was attending to one meeting, I have an infrastructure team, I have a management, and they said, we want to build it cloud native. And the infrastructure team say, yeah, of course, we're going to build it, because cloud native for them was to build an application with 12-factor app. And you can also running it on-premise. And for the management, it was cloud. It was a public cloud. So if we are building cloud native, we are gonna put it in a public cloud. And they have a common, they said, yeah, we agree both sides. And I was an intermediator. I say, wait, they want to build it on-premise. You wanted to build it on the cloud. And the management say, hey, what do you mean by that? I say, yeah, exactly what I say. And they're looking at the infrastructure team, as it's right. They say, yeah, cloud native doesn't mean you have to build it just for the public cloud or hyperscale or something like this. And this is what I mean by creating a common understanding. So every talk, every workshop I'm spending between 5 and 15 minutes to create a common understanding. So you have a input, output, you can work on it, and then you can maybe create your plan and build whatever you like, however you call it. And I think it's going to be one point, lack of shared terminology.
No, and I think most of us have a story like this. I have one on Dora, where I had a long discussion with somebody at a conference over lunch, and we both talked about Dora. Or I picked up Dora from him, and then I joined the conversation. And then after 5 to 10 minutes, we both figured out that I'm talking about the Dora DevOps metrics, that the developer efficiency, and he was talking about the Digital Operational Resiliency Act of the European Union, right?
Yeah. Similar happening with IDP, identity provider, internal developer platforms. Yeah, it's also can happen to you. I have a meeting today in the morning with people from Australia, and one in the meeting asked, what do you mean by IDP? Identity provider? I say, oh, no, internal developer platform. So yeah, it's very important to making clearance, and also not just use the acronyms. Or if you're using acronyms, maybe to say one sentence, what you mean by that. So you have a common understanding. But yeah, as you say, every one of us, I think, have a lot of stories to share about common common misunderstanding on wrong terminologies.
And I think especially as we're operating, as you just mentioned, you had a call with Australia, if you are dealing with international, with a diverse group, with different language backgrounds, with different cultural backgrounds, maybe some acronyms mean something different in a different country. So it's always good to start with defining what you really mean so that we all have a common understanding. So you called it the educational gap. I really liked it. You also have a very funny meme there with the hobbits. So folks, the presentation that Artem used, I'm not sure, Artem, if you allow me to also link to those slides, let me know. Then we can also link to the slides.
Yeah, please go for it. Sharing is caring, so I try to share everything. I have nothing to hide. So yeah, please.
Perfect.
Do me a favor if you share it. Thank you for that.
Cool. We'll definitely do that. What are some of the other kind of pitfalls that you have identified?
We have identified also something I call building on an unstable core. It's meaning, for example, if you have back workflows, because I have some project, and if I'm going to the project to say we want to build a platform, and I say, show me please your bootstrapping. How do you bootstrap your platform? And I was identified really just simple, some swim lanes, some to do, and they said we are doing here 20% ClickOps, here doing some PowerShell scripting, here for infrastructure as code, here we have, for example, something Helm chart, and all the stuff we have fully automated. I say, yeah, but you have 20% on the ClickOps. So why do you want to build a platform? First, start to focus on your workflows. Improve, for example, remove the ClickOps, remove the PowerShell. So you have, for example, infrastructure as code, Helm charts, whatever. So you can use it. Focus on your workflows, not just on the next abstraction layer and try to build on top of it, because you need to remove the bad workflows or improve it, and then you can go in the next part. This is what I mean. If you, for example, if you try to building layer on layer and you have an unstable fundament or ground, it's very difficult for you later to improve it, because it's gonna hide a lot of bad complexity. And after you have a portal, you click on it and you're looking behind the scene. You say, oh no, I don't trust the system. And also we are learning in Europe, for example, if you want to using a stable core, it means from the beginning to understand if you are in a regulated area and you need a lot of certification, test dates, I don't know, BSE, C5, Type 2, and all the things we love as engineers. And you're choosing the wrong provider for you, then you need to refactor it and to migrate it in the future. We're seeing about, I think, 50 reference architecture every year, and a lot of companies coming to us and say, we are making the wrong decision. We are choosing the wrong cloud provider for us. Now we need to migrate it. So before the workflows part started, it started with your ground you're choosing. So also, this is what I try to tell the people. You need to focus on your core to understand what can I choose. I mean, we also would not build a house in some area. It's not stable. I think the most of us is similar with your whatever you build on top of it. And this is also, I think I called it building on an unstable core or something like this.
Yeah, because the more unstable the core, the more effort you will have to work around all the instabilities, and in the end, you're not getting the value out of the stuff that you're building on top. Yeah. I also liked your image there. The guy who is working out with huge muscles on the upper body, but then very tiny legs, was really, really an interesting analogy.
Yeah, I try to analogy like never miss a leg day if you're going to the gym, something like this.
Yeah. Exactly. If it's a leg day every day, it's a problem. Then I know you didn't cover it, but maybe we can cover it today because it comes up a lot in my conversation, is around Backstage.
Yeah, I have to skip it because we are running out of time at the Cloudland, and we have, I think we call it use Backstage or just use Backstage, something like this, because a lot of people are coming also to us and say, yeah, we're just using Backstage. I say, okay, tell me more. And then I say, do you try it? No, I'm going to try it today afternoon. I say, try it, and then come to me and tell me more. And then they're coming and say, just let's use this Backstage doesn't work. I say, why not? They say, because it's like you have an archive, you unarchive it, and then you have a framework of a lot of libraries and you need to build it your own. You need to using plugins. You need to build everything, and then you need to put it in a Docker container if you want to deploy it, for example, on Kubernetes. And then you need to fix the imager. And every time you need to fix it, or every time you need, for example, a new plugin, you need to go to the code, import the plugin. I say, yes, now you understand. Backstage, if you're going to the site, they say it's a framework. And I mean, every developer, this is also the pain point with system engineers. They never develop software. If you're speaking to a developer will say, of course, it's a framework. You need to build it. But with system engineers, they say, we just use it because you have also a community Helm chart. Now, if I remember it right, exists. They say, we just can't deploy it. And so I say, no, you can't just use Backstage. You need to understand it. You need to integrate it. I never say Backstage is a bad solution. I really like Backstage, but you need to learn it. The learning curve is a little bit tough at the beginning. You need to understand what you have. And I think it's the best solution on the market for self-hosted you have at the moment now. As SaaS, you have, of course, something like Port or Cortex, really nice solutions. But if you need to self-host it because you're running on an air-gapped environment or on Edge and you need by your own, so I think Backstage is at the moment the state of the art. I mean, it looks like 2020, it feels like 2020, but it's the best solution we have.
I guess it was built in 2020, I guess, or even before that. That's why it looks like it. But as you said, I mean, it solves some really important problems. Like most people, I think that started with Backstage is around the overview, the software catalog to really understand what you have in your organization.
Yes.
Then the self-service onboarding is obviously with all these workflows that they have is really good. But yeah, you made a good point, especially with depending on who you are, what role you have, or what background you have. You may think that Backstage is just something you install and that's it. But if you have the skills of a software engineer, if you have the understanding, then you know it's very powerful, but it's a framework and you need to build on top of the framework. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to I think it's React written in. So yeah. And the most system engineer or cloud engineer or DevOps engineer and now platform engineer, the most I know, they are never touch React in the most cases. Yeah. So, but it's a really nice tool. And I mean, but like you say, the most we are also using it. For example, some customer building it as a common portal for everything. And they started with some documentation. So every news I got putting it or something to explore. You have a catalog. You can explore all the services your company provide. And then they started to integrate step by step using the plugins, understand it, looking in the market. And like I say, I think it's the best solution we have at the moment. If you try to building something self-hosted and also building templates. I mean, Critics also, or Syntasio shows it. They're also using Backstage and Port to create promises from the real world and then integrate it as a template and you can click on it and getting the resources you need. I mean, it's really nice, but you need to understand it.
Which brings me to, I think you are number 4 of your pitfalls that you had. You also didn't get to it, I believe, but I think it's a very important topic because we often, and I got criticized for that, because when we do demos and we show Backstage and we show a self-service onboarding workflow with a new app and all of it works smooth and nice, but how often do you onboard a new service? Once in the lifetime of that service.
Yes.
So the question is what happens afterwards?
Yeah, I think the point you mentioned, it's about day 2 operations. How do you handle day 2 operation? Because all the demos we are seeing on all the conference or unconference, it's about I have a Backstage, I have a Port, I have a template, day 0, day 1 operation, and then it works. And then you're saying, for example, I have it was I think Port, if I remember it right. They created a template. You have a platform engineering team, you have a developer team, and you have 4 or 5 developer teams. And the platform team created a template with Kubernetes, with a managed Kubernetes, with some databases and another stuff. And they provided to the developer taking it like a t-shirt sites, click on it, getting so everything they needed. And then they provided for day 2 operations a new version. And I think 3 teams using the new version upgraded it to it's going to be upgrades the Kubernetes version and another stuff. And it works. And one team using the template and it breaks. And then they say the platform engineering teams are responsible for it. And the platform engineering teams say, no, we have here 3 another teams. It's working on it. And I take a look at it and I'm seeing, for example, the developer created pod disruption bars. Something will require one, but they have a min replica of one. I mean, it's the purpose of Kubernetes to block it. And something, if you try to upgrade it, you're getting time out. And so I saw it and I asked the developer, you have a misconfiguration of the service, so the template doesn't work. And now you can discuss it because the developers say, yeah, but the platform engineering team need to cover it. I say they can't because the purpose of Kubernetes is if you define for critical workloads, PDBs, and you don't want to be disturbed, like it says, so it's gonna block it. You can't just upgrade it for your workload. Mm-hmm. And they say, yeah, we understand, but they need to, for example, cover it with some health check, giving some notification. I say, yeah, it's a learning, but they do operations to cover it very difficult. And they ask me, can you explain it to us in other terms? I say, very easy. GCP, Google Cloud Platform are using it because they have the platform inside. I say, if you're going to GCP and you're creating a service and misconfiguring it, the GCP team fix it for you? They say no, because we make the mistake. I say, yes, of course. This is a similar example. What do you have now done with your platform engineering teams? They provide you a platform with a template, you misconfigure it, you break it, and why they should fix it for you? And they say, yeah, right. So we need to speak about the day 2 operation. And it sounds easy, but in some cases, it's not. This is what I saw from a project. And I also was thinking now, okay, the day 0, day 1 operations are really nice, but no one or just a few people maybe speaks about day 2 operations and how things breaks and how the shared responsibility is on a platform if you provide templates and where it starts and where it ends on the both sides. You don't have the right answer. You can say it's fixed.
Yeah. No, I think that's as you said, it's also a learning thing and it's a definition thing. So what are the responsibilities of both sides? And also what do you expect the platform to cover and what not? How much abstraction do you put in? How much free? It also then goes with the freedom, right? Because the more the more you narrow it down, what people can do, obviously the safer it becomes, but also the less agility or the less autonomy you have. So it's an interesting. I really like your explanation though with Google, where you say, do you open up a support ticket with Google just because you misconfigured something? Probably not, because you can, but they will not tell you. They'll just ignore it.
I mean, if they are friendly, they will point out it for you and showing that you make the mistake and showing you the documentation, how to fix it or what you've misconfigured, but they don't gonna fix it for you because it's working out.
For all the listeners, right, if you think about building an internal platform, really sit down with your engineers, also learn on, because let's assume this example that you brought, right? If you have a large organization with hundreds of teams, and a high percentage of them always run into the same problem, that they make configuration mistakes in their YAML files based on the templates, then maybe it is time from an overall efficiency perspective, from an overall stability perspective, to think about how can you prevent this. Maybe then something like a health check makes sense. But this is the constant learning and the constant involving of your end users, your internal development teams, in the process of how you're evolving your platform, your product. Because every product, right, a product not necessarily hopefully doesn't have an end time, right? A product evolves, right? It's not a project. I remember Max Pirbacher, right, who I wrote the book with. He was very picky in the book around a platform as a product means it's constantly evolving. If you think about the platform as a project, it has a deadline, and at that point, it's done. You deliver it, and then it's done. And so I think this is also the product thinking, that you're constantly evolving and constantly making it better, because you constantly learn from your users on how they're using it, how you need to make it better, and also maybe there's new use cases that are coming in, there's new technologies that are coming in that you then also want to support. Yeah.
Totally agree. And if I remember it right, I think it was Gregor Hoppe that said, be happy if they break the things, because it's an indicator for you that as they're using the platform. I think he was using other words, something like they're going to build and surprise you and you're not expecting a thing. You can, I think, also translated to if they break your platform, be happy because they're using it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you have a KPI for this part, they're using it. So don't be angry, say thanks, agree on that, and then make a new iteration and fix it and make it better, like a living product, like you already explained. So that's what he said to the.
Yeah. And I think this actually brings us to the fifth point that you had, because it goes into measuring the impact that you have. How, like, the impact could be how many people are using it. I think that was your fifth pitfall that you mentioned.
Yes, yeah. If I remember it right, it's gonna be something about how do you measure failing or something like this. And the most company was like, we try to create DORA matrix, KPIs, and all this stuff. And in the most cases, what I am doing or what we are doing is if somebody not using the platform, we try to build a platform for developers. If you're speaking about developers, we are speaking about multiple stakeholders. You have, I don't know, the security team, depending on the size of the customer we are working for. It's you have the cloud engineers, you have security teams, you have FinOps, you have, of course, the developers, software developers, software engineers. And then what we are doing, it sounds sometimes weird, we are doing a shadowing or internship, something like in the teams and looking how they work. So we measure the KPIs by just shadowing and asking them where is the pain point, understand it, because in some cases you have teams, they have another pain points. And if you're building a platform or a portal or however you call it for the developer and they don't accept it, it's not because you built it wrong. Sometimes the cognitive workload is so high and they have a lot of other problems and maybe you need to solve it first to understand what the pain point is to solve it. So because of that, every time I say, I think the most time, or about 99%, I say, just ask your developers, understand the pain point, solve it. Then they have reduced the cognitive workload. Then you can understand they have time to explore your platform, what you're building. And also, if you're building for them, you will go also getting some insights and seeing maybe observability at the moment, not the right path. They are figuring out how to build Zika containers. So I don't know, try to integrate golden paths with our Argo CD workflows or another pipeline tool that it's going to build with Buildcats, Zika container for them, something like this. I'm learning a lot. Not just only from the developer, also from security teams. Because if you are joining security teams in Germany, the most security teams don't have a developer background, have a little bit of a system engineer background, and they're doing a lot of compliance. And the most don't understand our cloud native world and how it works. So it's scary for them. But I mean, they are part of the organization, and you need also to understand, for example, if you, I don't know, allow one template to deploy the developer software or a Kubernetes cluster or something like this, it's going to be compliant. You need some policies that you have cover with the company. And then if you say, okay, now I understand your pain. We have, for example, Kubernetes, a policy engine. We can enforce in every our template, everything you like, and taking the pain points. So this is what I every time I say, just ask your developers, not software developer, the most stakeholder of your platform. You don't need to ask them all because then you're never starting to work. But try to understand the real pain. And then you can, of course, integrate some KPIs because you need it. I mean, you're putting a lot of money on building a platform team. And I mean, we have already spoke about the numbers. If you establish a platform team, you need maybe between 5 and 8 engineers for 24/7 on call duty. Some infrastructure, it's going to cost you 1 million, I guess. It's not less. I mean, we are looking at the number 100K on salary on average. One engineer, you're having 5 until 8, some infrastructure. So you also will need some KPIs for the management, because why do you need a platform if it's not provider value? But first, try to ask your future user, hopefully.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you so much for going through these 5 common pitfalls. For me, this was one of the cool things that I remember from your talk, besides everything else that you presented. So folks, if you are listening to this, make sure to check out the link to the slides. Also, connect with Artem on LinkedIn. You see a lot of the content that he and his team is producing. I want to just quickly touch base on one other topic, because we're getting at towards the end of our recording here. But there was one thing we discussed in Munich. We were sitting kind of like listening into a talk, and then you reminded me about some new reports that came out. I think from Platform.org, there's a report that came out on the state of platform engineering. Then I think you referenced another report and also a LinkedIn post from Christian Scheele, from Sebastian Scheele, sorry. Yeah, we also had him on a podcast a couple of years ago. And I will just use the same provocative sentence that Sebastian used. And he said, Terraform is dead. Now, why would we bring up Terraform now? Obviously, Terraform, or everything is code, infrastructure is code, deployments is code, observability is code is a very big topic around platform engineering, because this is how we can really automate, how we can ensure consistent systems. Terraform obviously is a big player in the market, but there's obviously been some quite change over the years. New tools that are coming out, obviously a lot of things that happened around open sourcing, around open TOEFL. But from your perspective, what do you hear? What do we need to know around Terraform and around infrastructure as code in the realm of platform engineering?
What I'm getting from the numbers from the both state reports, the one is going to be, if I remember it right, State of Platform Engineering, Volume 3 from Platform Engineering Org, just published a few days ago. And another one was the State of GitOps from Octopus Deploy, if I remember it right. And I was looking at it because a lot on the market say Terraform is dead. I say, okay, maybe. And I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers say 70% of the companies, I think in the one report, it's going to be, say, 68%. In the other one, it was going to be about 70% says the people still using Terraform. And I can also agree on that. The most of the customer we're working with, they're using, because if you're not running on a hyperscaler like Azure or AWS, you can just use Crossplane. If you want to use Crossplane, you need to upjet your Terraform. I don't know how it's called, your Terraform models, or you need to build a provider about it. I never done it. I just saw the example, so you can update it, and you don't have the solution at the moment, in my opinion. Between we have the Crossplane part, it's going to be about, from the adoption rate, about 5 and 8% on the market. You can use it, but I'm working at the moment for the most with European cloud provider, and you need to update it. So you need to hire people, again, the topic. You need to hire people with the right skill set that gonna upjet, that understand Kubernetes, understand infrastructure as code, understand all the word, and then upjet, for example, your Terraform models. This is also, I think, how Azure is doing it until today. They just upjetted the provider and embedded it in Crossplane and use it for infrastructure. So it sounds fancy on LinkedIn, and a lot of people would have Terraform replaced with tools like Crossplane, so you can do it everything declarative. You can push everything to GitOps, and your infrastructure, everything is going to be provisioned for that. But the reality shows on the market that the most people are sticking to Terraform, and so I think I'm gonna also taking a post in the next days and saying, yeah, Terraform that is nice, but the report says this is the reality. How we have a breakdown between Terraform and then the next step going to Crossplane, everything is good. How do you handle it, or how you transit it, especially for a cloud provider from Europe that don't have the Crossplane provider? This is what I see. And
yeah, we also see it. I mean, obviously, many years of investment in Terraform, a lot of custom built modules around it, a lot of expertise that has been built up within organizations. And this is why I guess we see this big of an adoption of Terraform, even though there was obviously some shakeups on multiple ends in the last years. I will definitely provide. I found the State of Platform Engineering Volume 3, as you mentioned it, folks. I will add all the links to the description. Also, thanks for the reminder of what upchatting is. So in case folks you don't know, upchat is a project from Crossplane. Also will add the link. It's generating Crossplane providers from any Terraform provider, as it says on the GitHub repository. And so we'll also add the links to this. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because we have a lot of discussions with people that are now trying to figure out what's the future for their infrastructure as code. Some are looking into Crossplane, some are moving back to Terraform because of, for instance, the reason that, hey, we have not enough skills within the organization to move to another IAC project also, we will have a gap if we would move over, and then we need to maintain two things, and two things maintaining is not the right thing, right? It's not efficient. Just as you, I also very much like cross-plane, but the right now it's as you mentioned, 70% are using Terraform still. This is not going to go away in the short term, but we'll see what's going to happen in the months and years to come.
Maybe AI will save us. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. That's. I think you also mentioned thanks for the reminder. I believe in your slides, you had your recap slides, and in the recap slides, at the very end, you said AI won't save you. So AI will definitely make our lives hopefully easier if we leverage it well, right? It's going to be a productivity tool, but it's not going to solve all of our problems.
Not yet. Who knows?
Exactly. So maybe in a year from now, we come back and then we say, we were all wrong. But
you never know.
You never know. Hey, Artem, thank you so much for the time. It's amazing how time flies when you have a discussion around topics that you're interested in. I hope. Well, first of all, I wish you all the best with your upcoming projects. Are you going to speak at any other conferences that are coming up in the next weeks or months?
Yes, next week I'm gonna be at the WSO2 Asia, and I'm gonna speaking about platformless. If the companies fail on building IDPs, which solution exists, and I'm taking a look or providing Choreo, which I really like. And to say if you don't have the money to build a platform engineering team, you can use Choreo or Open Choreo with self-hosted. And I'm gonna be in a conference on Sri Lanka, I think, or in Sri Lanka, I think they say they don't say Sri Lanka. In Germany, say Sri Lanka, but if I remember, I try to say Sri Lanka, something like this. Cool. And it's going to be my next conference. And of course, Container Days. If people are joining Container Days, you will also attending to Container Days.
Not Container Days, no, but we will see each other, I think, at the Cloud Native Days in Vienna, if I'm not mistaken.
In Vienna, yeah. The next after Container Days. Yeah, of course. Then we're going to reverse our platform engineering. So it's I try to keep posted, so if you follow me on LinkedIn or something like this, I'm gonna post it and you be updated in which conferences you're attending.
Cool. Again, thank you so much. Hopefully, folks, the content as always was useful. You learned something new, or you enjoyed just listening into our conversation. To Brian, I want to say, get better soon because I need you back as a co-host. And with this, thanks again, Artem. See you soon.
Thanks you for having me. Yeah, and Brian, all the best, and thanks again, and also to all the listeners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.